Okay, guys. Hey, hey. Since it's a hangout, probably have to repeat a few times, but I dropped a link. I haven't been super successful running hangouts. Someone said my link was erroring. Anyway, I dropped a link in the description bar. I noticed it just seems really long. So maybe I better see whether or not there's chat enabled or what it is I can do or need to do to get that working. Anyway, so yeah, so I'm kind of new to the whole hangout thing, as you guys can tell, and I'm trying to figure out the chat, but and enable live chat. Okay, so it should be enabled. Now let's go over here and kind of go to it so I can see if anyone's there, and if so, what they might be typing. Oh, I guess I could drop it on G Plus or something. Why not? Why not drop it on G Plus? I don't know. Anyway, let's find me first. This might be a short hangout. Hopefully not. Hopefully there'll be people who come in. But yeah, I don't know. I've been listening to things and just kind of trying to like re-solidify my thinking in a more discrete manner than usual. Let's see. Okay, so this is live on my channel. Let's see what's going on. Yeah, so let me put you guys through this. Okay, so I'm not really seeing how it is I'm live. It just says that I'm live. Interesting. Okay, so in other words, even under my own channel, playlist channels discussion, having a hard time finding how I can even view the chat room. Crazy, isn't it? Yep, okay, I'm glad you guys came to watch me talk shit. Live now, subscribe, come on, buddy. Come on, show up. Still nothing. It's like, okay, great. Great. So, in other words, if anyone is typing, how about this? How about I draw for a few minutes? If no one comes into the room, I'll just assume that there's something wrong, even though I can't seem to find my own live channel. Live. Okay, well, great. And you know, this might be more of a monologue anyway than anything, because I was thinking about a few things, like how the phrase "working for the man" became a patriarchy, right? Because we got a man, we might as well say he's the white man. We're working for the man. White Jesus, capitalist white Jesus, running our Jewish capitalistic nation, and therefore, so the phrase "working for the man" became synonymous for white Jesus, controlled by the Jews at the bank, and then got co-opted by the intersectionality between social justice warriors and feminism. See, talk about politics or not. Okay, so there's that idea. Wanted to just get that on the record. Mytho-bios-synthesis. Right? Now there's a mythos, there's a logos, there's a theos, there's a gnosis. And I hope when you guys listen to this, you go to the settings area and you double the time, right? Just so you can, you know, get through whatever it is I'm rambling faster. Mytho-biological synthesis. Okay, and why is mytho, as I'm painting a centaur, right? So it can be interpreted in terms of like, oh, transhumanism is kind of a mythic idea currently, and it's about biology. And then X-Men is a little bit different than transhumanism. It's more like adding some sort of biologic superpowers that apparently have some sort of like mythical power to them, to the DNA that somehow makes people more mythic. in their biology. But when I say mythobiological synthesis, what I'm referring to is the idea that one already embedded in a mythos, in a life myth, in a story of oneself that's carved out in certain historic trending patterns via authorship, like James Joyce's Ulysses, which I've never read, but know something synoptic about it. And then, but the idea of not just traveling through a day, but that one's life requires like the hero's journey. I think it was Joseph Campbell, that was promoting that as a mythic function. But there's a mythic functionality of our being that requires that we move through like Herculean tasks, and that it's happening within our biology. You know, this or seemingly concurrent one-time event called our biological metabolism in time is, you know, it's if it is non-repeatable, which I'm not going to argue that it's not repeatable, just not currently repeatable. I mean, logically, it might be repeatable. Anyway, okay, and then so anyway, the whole idea that we are an embedded mythic structure within our bios, unless your brain dead, unless you don't have a story or a memory about yourself, then you have a mythos. And then the gnosis, if you will, knowledge or knowledge set, like agnostic with a G, GN. So it's about what it is that you know. And so if you have a gnosis, then, and you know a lot, then you know that you also have a story, and that story may or may not fall in congruence with some sort of like Odyssey, some sort of Greek Odyssey, or perhaps other religions or other cultures. You know, a cultural religious mix trade is also heavily brewing today. I think the internet's going to bring out, hopefully it fleshes out difference, but I think there's kind of this narrowing of spectrum, you know, that's more about what's being accused of what's causing problems, but it's only accused. Things are only accused when they're asserted. So, but then again, there's not a lot of sophisticates that like to break down things, like the analytic philosophers of the America, as opposed to the continental philosophers of the other side of the pond, right? The English philosophy. And you know, and there's also this general notion, like finally when translatability gets, you know, very acute, where you can just speak almost in lifetime through Google and be able to, you know, speak to the massive amounts of Chinese individuals, and you know, then we're going to get embedded also with their philosophy. Right now it's Islam, but mostly reactionary because we're at war. Not with Islam proper, but perhaps ideologically speaking, some people are at war with Islam. Like they believe it's just got to be the case. And anyway, I've been thinking a lot about MGTOW and feminism and men's rights activism. And what are we doing, guys? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to scoot all around like I was in my last video. It's just that I'm up late. I got to get up early. My feet are always sore. I'm drawn. I'm not used to drawing like this, and I'm talking. I'm kind of nervous about how I was last time. So I'm trying to correct it. Yeah, what a bummer. What a bummer that I can't see my own live hangout that supposedly is supposed to have live chat going on, right? So what did I do wrong? Maybe, let's see. Anyway, point though. I was talking to Canada earlier, Ange, and we're, she really wants us to just have like dialogue, but have it hung out, have it recorded, right? And she's trying to, okay, I think it'd be good to talk with these people, and there's a real human stories about things. And I mean, she's a character in and of herself. She's got her own mythic structure of like not guilt, but fate, right? The problems with fate and the troubles with the human condition, and then how everybody translates their universe is different, but some people get pushed to it. And anyway, ended up going to this bar last night. My feet were sore. I was like, hey, it's Friday. My feet are sore. I want a beer. I go in there and there's some guy in a wheelchair, right? And I'm like, so I shake his hand, like, hey, how you doing? And it was pretty loud, and we were having a hard time talking, but we did exchange a few words. But it was just cool to talk to somebody that was in a wheelchair permanently, because it reminded me of being, having that thought that I was going to be permanent, that I might be in a wheelchair, and being in a wheelchair, and there's something about the value of physiological, once again, biological, I'll say, problems or physiological problems, but material embodied problems as they relate to one's relationship to the whole system of goals. And hey, this guy may or may not have kids. I don't think he does in the wheelchair, right? I don't have kids, but the thing is his likelihood off heavily, I think. Maybe I'm wrong, right? Maybe not, but it just seemed like incapacitated people are still, they're still people. And anyway, so somehow by shaking this guy's hand, it had improved my Stu to Steve score based on the Stu to Steve analysis of in the Tao of Steve, which my younger brother keeps telling, hey man, quit being a Stu, be a Steve. Here nor there, unless you want to watch the Tao of Steve and try to figure out what I'm talking about. But anyway, but the whole point is that guy in the wheelchair, his perception of the world, if it's anything like my experiences, is heavily internally suppressive. Like a lot of people that are in wheelchairs or that are physically disabled, they have to suffer a knowledge of their difference in social circumstance from then on out, and then in life trajectory and goals and purpose that's dissimilar to the modern healthy person, right? And so they're embedded in a history and a story and a mythos. And I don't know why I'm arguing for this idea of that, other than I'm trying to impose the idea that one's concurrent existence is both mythic and it's biological. And if you have logos, if you can speak and you know what knowledge is, you can reduce rationally and declare facts about a law of excluded middle-based objective empirical reality, then you have something of a gnosis. But then if you internalize that and see how the functionality of rationality is but a mere subset of knowledge, or flowing, or metabolism, like language as a type of metabolism, a type of feeling, an emotive function and not a rational function, then that can kick you into a theos, or another form of mythos, right? Mythos and theos are kind of interesting. Like, anyway, so I was just listening to Ben Shapiro earlier, arguing for feminism and everything, and I thought, yeah, he was talking about, the symptoms of the left, and I thought it was really interesting, because he was, these people on the left are this way because of, like God, how did he define the left? You know, trying to use like something you didn't deserve that you were identifying with to God, I don't know how he put it. Like, I identify with a generalization and I want that to come down on your individuation or something to that effect is how I read it, right? And that puts you on the left. Great. So now I can't remember what I learned from Ben Shapiro. I mean, I did. I just can't remember it right now. But that's why I do these videos, right? This one's more of a thought video, obviously. It's got to be. Anyway, maybe I should try to get Ange in. Oh yeah. So anyway, but something about how he was describing that I can't remember right now. I simply can't. I can't remember how it is he described people on the left as being symptomatic or defined by, in his case, defined in such a manner. But then to speak about the idea of the left and the idea of social justice, like the civil rights was social justice. Suffrage was a type of social justice, right? So that the idea that social justice is not it's native to the U.S. is peculiar. Anyway, and then I thought that Ben Shapiro, just the fact that he has any clout, I thought he is, because he's a lawyer, right? So everything's very legal with him. But he keeps trying to get, he's also kind of a constitutional guy, right? He talks about how whether or not something could be brought up in a court of law, like whether or not one's, like he denies, right? He doesn't deny, but he doesn't, he says there's no evidence for the idea of unconscious motive. And he says, well, that's ghost chasing because I'm not a mind reader. And we're talking about behaviors within like a law structure. But then, which was fine. But then it was so weird because I sat there and I thought, God, when I was a kid, I saw the whole, I am a bill on Capitol Hill, on just a bit. And then it tells you how, it needs to go to the House and then the Senate, and then it's got to be ratified, this bill on Capitol Hill. And right. And I was like, okay, functionality of government, right? But all I know is I sat there and I thought the phenomena is the fact that we have a constitution here in the States that allows amendments. Like it allows us to have amendments and we don't utilize that function, right? It's so rare, right? We should be having not bills, but amendments being proposed again and again and again, like a shot, like a Gatling gun through our representatives and our senators. We always be trying to figure out how to amend that thing. I mean, why are we worried? I mean, that's what the Supreme Court is there for. The reason there's a big issue with the Supreme Court at all isn't a big left-right paradigm. It's how do we deal with the fact that we're not amending our Constitution to keep up with the times, and therefore we have to like overbloat this tumorous law structure around and about the Constitution to get anything done, because nothing actually structurally gets done. And I thought our Constitution amendment process by its very nature is constipated. Constitutional law professors like Obama, just lawyers in general, judges, they all know they're sitting on this document that is so static, that is meant to be mutable. It's meant to be changed. It's meant to be. Anyway, I think I'm drawing that hand too weird. I'm trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to do my pitchfork? He's going to be like releasing or holding his pitchfork. And it's kind of doing a Mad Magazine-y style. Man, that's a little problematic. Yep. Oh, yeah. Oh, hey, Kool-Aid. Okay, so let's see. So how would I do this? I'm just going to try this again. I'm going to try to go to Google and see if I can just drop this in and see if anyone tells me on Google that it's not a linkable link. I mean, not like, hey guys, look, I'm so popular that you want to join my hangout. But I did get quite a few in these like setup hangouts earlier. Let's see what goes on here. Ba-ba-da-ba, ba-ba-da-ba-ba, skidly-doo-ba-doo-boo. See, and then I want, like, I'm in this great debate community, right? And I'm watching this guy Matt Slick with this other dude like Almas or Stama, this English kind of logician guy, and it keeps English logician guys bringing Slick along between false dichotomies and contradictions, right? And then my job, like, I would like to argue with anybody that, I mean, both of them ground themselves in logic, and then he's trying to move like that. The reason I brought up Ben Shapiro earlier is because he's logical oriented. You know, he's a logically oriented type of guy, and is that, let's see if that works. And then I thought, okay, so sustain within the bounds of classical logic might, even if you think beyond or below with it as a substratum, right? So this guy, I'm just going to call him Almos because I don't remember, right? With Matt Slick, basically is proposing the idea that the grounds, like, he asks Matt Slick for the grounds of logic, right? And Matt Slick says, well, he's kind of saying, well, God is the source of logic. And then Matt Slick is, then they're arguing the contradiction versus a dichotomy in logic. And then the thing that was interesting was that when Almos asked Slick what was the basis, right, of the logic, he defaulted, kind of like Darwin's deity, DD does, to God. Like, boom, God is part this way, right? And so what Almos was doing was saying, hey, look, whether or not there's a God contingent universe or a God, a not God contingent, a God contingent logic or a not God contingent logic, right, is a separation of these domains, right, where such that it's possible to, okay, well, this is the false dichotomy, right? So the idea is that either God does have logic within him or God does not have logic within him, was Matt Slick's approach. And then Almos shows up and he says, well, look, God may have logic contingent, and I'm paraphrasing, right? Have logic contingent, right? Which is the contradiction, right? If you said God is both logic contingent and logic is not contingent upon God, right? And so that was generating this quad of logical considerability. But the thing is that if I got into an argument with any one of these guys that is going to base everything, like, say, well, what is your grounding? Like, because Almos also said, like, hey, look, Plato, Aristotle, these guys, he didn't say, well, what am I saying? This idea of logic, the laws of logic as transcendental by its nature is what I have a problem with, right? Because I still think there is a secular mode in which logic, the laws of logic, are taught. It's not to say that we don't mentally have logical structuring such that we can say, what has, like, how do you reduce, take an octagon on a plane, and then You know, like compare that to a square and a triangle and anything else that might have be set up by a series of straight lines, right, on a plane. And which one is the most reductive? Two-dimensional space that's complete, right? That's connected, and that would be a triangle, right? As opposed to a parallelogram. And so anyway, the point though is that we can logically deduce, but there's this idea that logical Platonic forms and numbers, and these ideas are somehow, because we as language speakers not only have memory, but we have abstracts that our mind can correlate on, right? And focus on, like a triangle, like a cube, like a pyramid, right? But we can also insert the idea of red unicorn, right? Oh, there's a red unicorn, okay. Or anything, truck, there's a monster truck, anything, any X that can be imagined, right? And if you can't imagine square circle, right? You can try to visualize it, but then you might run into like more of an icon, a visual icon of that you're using to represent square circles, since the idea of squaring a circle. Anyway, I'm babbling. Why is anyone entering my room? Why is Oaks didn't drop the link? Oh, anyway, so my point though is that I still think the issue with logic comes down to the acquisition of language and the functionality, the utility function of language. And I'm so stuck on that. Like, I can't let it go. Nobody seems to address it. So I was thinking, God, it would be great to get into a debate with somebody and bring up the idea of the that the reduction to the laws of logic, saying that that's bedrock, right? And that there's no other justification for that, because they're seeking justification, but they're not seeking, put it this way, I can't use logic to justify logic itself, right? But there's a justification that goes into witnessing children from birth to lingualism, right? And then the processes of how it is we speak about, speak to, and speak with, and speak amongst, and witness, testify from a language vantage point about the first person point of view of the infant relative to its ideas of knowledge, right? Because I mean, I don't think as infants are thinking about Platonic forms. I'm not going to say they're not. I'm just not going to say, I'm putting money on it, as if it was a testable idea at all. Anyway, but the point is that I don't really think they're thinking in terms of geometries. See how I'm getting very little done because I'm waving my damn hands around trying to pontificate instead of draw. That was my other issue. But anyway, the idea that we're embedded, not only mythobiologically, but we're embedded in describing other people's experiences. Right, like the fact that I think you guys are really bored with my hangout, and that you guys should you speed it up. Hit the speed up button if you're interested in hearing my content. Anyway, and so I ascribe that to you as what I hermeneutically guess or speculate, and then posit the act of positing the idea. Certainly interesting also, right? Just let me posit what I think you're thinking. Let me speculate on it. Let me imagine a reason, right? Not necessarily like it's a rational reason as to why it is I might assume you guys are bored. And I think that has to do with that I speak more words, perhaps less precisely than one's preference. Or I'm trying to match up what I'm trying to do with this lady center. Yeah, this lady center. Anyway, and so so what? So what? So what? So what? I'm going to prove to myself that I'm worse at drawing if I concentrate on philosophical rambling. Is that what I'm doing here? It kind of feels like that's what I'm doing here. And okay. Anyway, don't want to say what I had was a train of thought, particularly. Just thinking about my long-term impact. Oh, okay, and so anyway, the idea of there's a epistemic realm, right? The phrase epistemic realm is like not a a deductive approach to simplifying logical forms into their most rudimentary states and coming to simplicity, right? It's not about coming to simplicity in all cases, right? And that's what I would call what epistemology does. It tries to use general reasonable terms to speculate and argue and then reduce and speculate and theorize and hypothesize and reduce and communicate and find what are considered considerable and generally assumed objective facts about other people or other objects, might be the better way to put it. And the idea of why do I come on cam when I know I'm in this mind state? That's another question that we can ask later. I'll try to figure that one out. Oh yeah, so there's the epistemological realm, right, or the episteme, not the, I keep saying episteme, realm, right, which is what we would do when talking about what a dog knows, or what a lizard knows, right, where we're ascribing gnosis to something that doesn't have a logical reduction, such as epistemology, right, which embeds a proper rationalization, and that logical laws are representative of that domain, right? But so my point, though, is that there's a subdomain that's in humans, a prelingual subdomain of knowing what logic is. Now, these guys keep arguing for this transcendental shit. Like it's fine to refer to it, but like the idea of Platonic forms somehow being out there because we can intersubjectively speak about them and know what the other one's talking about. And because you're capable of reducing and I'm capable of reducing, we somehow think that this is like a magic thing, right? It's sourced from God because it's meta. But I say it's sourced from a language that comes from individuals that are biomorphic. I forget the phrase, right? Where the fact is we have a left arm and a right arm and a left eye and a right eye, left nostril and right nostril. And that we can see things like a prelingual child coming at us, and we can refer to things spatially through a triangulation process through one's bios, right? And so we create this mythic meta-narrative called a Platonic form, and then we grant it status because we're so used to reducing things from epistemology instead of noticing that there's epistemic knowledge, not epistemological knowledge, epistemic, right? I'm trying to parse those off, right, from one another, as to speak about what it is our bios does functionally, right? We're using a language to describe the bios functionally as the bios is reacting geometrically to things that are closer and further and can imagine, form, and function in real space. That's why you give kids toys of different shapes and colors and so forth, so that they're interacting with different categories and category sets and exchanges of points, and they see a contrast and feel a contrast between what a corner is, what an edge is, what a plane is, what a curve is, right? They feel it, it's haptic, and their eyes are responding, their ears are responding, and there's a dynamic that's going on that's all pre-lingual. That's still a part of an epistemic realm space, an epistemic knowledge that is not deductive, but it justifies. See, so here the rationalist comes in and asks, what is your justification? As if this is bedrock, we can go no more. But certainly, in humans yields that this is just a non-spoke of area, right? And then somehow philosophy tries to take the idea of Platonic forms and try to own it, right? And this is the problem. This is why I want to get into discussion with rationalists, because to them it maintains strictly a meta transcendental form. They call it I believe that philosophy calls Platonic forms, like a type of transcendental form or transcendentalism. Let's see. Yeah, not getting enough during. I got to get rid of this big guy up here. Putting in these other two smaller centaurs. This one's a lady. She's got her Sagittarius boobs hanging out. Oh, so anyway, I was also thinking then, so there's that, right? Then I was thinking of the idea like, hey, the left is trying to equalize, in my point of view, right? The left is trying to equalize, the phrase all things being equal, but the idea like human souls are as precious as any other human soul. We value human soul, right? That seems to be a value of the West. Hence, there's disabled people that are cared for. Hence, we don't believe in honor killing or killing people like post-birth genocide, infanticide, right? I mean, in general, we could get that liberal. Belgium is, right? Or in terms of euthanasia. But the thing is the problem, I think, that I'm seeing with youth and with the idea of valuing life, right, is that it runs roughshod against the value of valuing life, right? Once it's here, we care for it, right? But then we kill other animals, and we have an in-group and out-group, and then this, like, who do you care for? How do you care for them? And to what extent are they within your life and within your family domain and tribe and value and so forth, right? So that's all. Those are all dimensions. But in general, the Western law structure, it caters to all life on the left, I would say, right? And the right too. And when I say on the left, I mean the left political movement seems to want to equalize all people, all religions, all ideologies, all. And then they want to have freedom of speech to be able to allow such things. Here's my big pushback against the right's pushback against the left and the SJWs, is that they want freedom of speech, but this freedom of speech happens to have a, when people talk about being triggered or needing trigger warnings or wanting new pronouns for their sex and gender, those are all freedom of speech. Like, they have the right to name this, and if it catches on as a new word, a new variable to add to the language, then there's that's good news. Meaning it's good news because it's also an aspect of the freedom of speech. As far as utilizing it in tribal function to thwart other people's freedom of speech, I think that is a type of annoyance. But there might be an outshoot of that. I mean, people getting in protests with bullhorns at all are to make certain that their voices are heard. And by hearing someone else's voice, you're not listening to somebody else's voice, right? You guys are listening to mine right now if you're listening. And so that's taking away from your listening to somebody else. So go on, run along, little doggies. Run along. Kidding. No, stay with me. Anyway, so the idea that somehow the left and the SJWs and these people, these transsexuals and the youth, utilizing postmodernism in how it is they're trying to rewrite and reimpose like linguistic structure into the language, right? And use political means to do so. There's an objective of trying to equalize people by doing this, politically speaking, is something that needs to, there's more sophisticated pushback that go against, you know, like Thunderfoot and the Amazing Atheist and any the anti-feminists and stuff like that. There's pushback that needs to come that that it both like takes them in and it kind of ropes-a-dopes them and then pushes back, right? An ebb and flow, shoring up that goes back out to sea. So I'm anticipating for myself a conjuring of pushback against the right because they are thwarting often or attempting to thwart the speech of these campuses that are trying to, like, you know, belittle, use anger, use you know, pontifications and volume, right? You get this, instead of clapping, you get the snap. But then the inverse, the response that's also given to the snappers is overt yelling in one's face, right? Which can easily escalate into physical assaults and so forth if the line is passed. But meaning these are all lingual functionalities, right? But then the whole idea is what does it mean to be a part of a Western society? What does it mean to be a Native American Indian protesting loudly about land in a tribal form, as a collective, as a group? You know, what the American history is also includes that, right? The ability to protest, to rightfully be able to express your grievance. So and so basically, and so the idea that the right is by default right when they're against groupthink, collective thought, tribalistic thought, like Black Lives Matters, right, or feminism. Like there's kind of this assault. It's not really an assault. I just like that, right? A verbal assault, right? But even the phrase, there's kind of this assault on feminism from these MGTOWs, right? And the thing is, I understand the MGTOW movement, and I kind of agree with it in a lot of cases too. But the whole idea is that since I think freedom of speech is not an amendment that should really be messed with, I think hate speech laws are very problematic. Hate crime, I think that might have something that's kind of okay with it, but hate speech is maybe is problematic for me personally. Anyway, and so my point though is, what am I getting at here? Oh yeah, just that there could be a case made against. And man, we're making the head too small, even narrow. Yeesh, yeesh, yeesh. Okay. Anyway, bigger cat. Making a case for. I really need to readjust my whole life and my whole way of thinking and repent and rethink your repentance of my thoughts. Realign with prosperity and goodness and justice. Oh yeah, so the idea, kind of like unions are a thing of the left, workers' unions, right? Like, hey, we have these oppressive conditions. We would like a union to express our grievances against our own employer, because after all, you're our employer. And then you want to get right to work states or freedom from unions, freedom from groupthink, right? But groupthink, you know, there's an irony, right? Like let's say, you know, kill all white people or get them all out of here, or the white oppression, the patriarchy is the man, and he happens to be a white man, and so let's throw everything against the white man. I think that's a problem, you know, not just personally because I'm a white man, but for the most part, but because it's, you know, it's a sense of bias be able to be spoken of, right? God, what was my point? What's my point? I had some pushback on that. I get sidetracked by thinking about what my point might have been. Would be good to have other people in the room to keep the chain of thought going. I'll have to drop it apparently now. Emily's watching. It's not even up. We'll just record as a video until I figure out these bugs. So, way to watch my hangout, which is just me painting. I'm probably not even. Wouldn't that be funny as shit if my microphone wasn't even on? Holy shit. Who knows these? Who knows? Who knows? I know you guys are going to be upset when I erase that top guy because you love him so much. Who doesn't love him so much? We love you so much, Satyr, big centaur man. Big Satyr man also. Yeah, train of thought. Oh, well, yeah, oh, okay. So the idea, that language itself, being an English speaker itself, allows you to be a part of a group of English speakers, right? It's a group think. It's an allowance and a freedom within this domain of communicability, right? Communicability has its own domain, and we call that domain generally like well-articulated communicability requires that you share the same language, right? And that's why you have to work with people that don't share the same language to attempt to convey meaning and articulate, maybe you should say articulate, put forward that they can understand. Anyway, and so the whole idea though is that community is already a functional type of a union, right? A grouping of people. And so I find it odd that black people that are against white people use English, like no more white people aren't saying, hey, look, but the ones, you know, the black people are saying, white people are stealing everything that we do, they're stealing our culture, and then they're dominating us and so forth. Right, that idea, I think, like the mere fact that the black people are utilizing English and that the very history of the use and the grammar structure and patterning and the way it's the way English is set up as a language has a different tonality than, let's say, Thai, right, or Korean. And it has a different tonal quality than German or French, right? And so there's all these nuances that come along with being an English speaker, but most importantly, not the nuances and not those little differences. It's the idea that one's knowledge set is based on the definitions that are inherited within that language. Like you hear, like, oh, and you know, Eskimos have 14 names for snow, and English only has ice or snow or hail or something, you know. And so there's these differences, but there's also these limitations that come across this way. So there's just a type of irony, right, to subsume or be forced to speak one language and then to deny, like if I only knew Swahili, meanings within that and that culture, and I was trying to get something that came about from the culture that was yielded through English, it might be difficult, the customs and the history of the words of the language and the meaning and the depth and the etymology and so forth would have a different functional spread, a lingual spectrum of meaning. Like some people are just think everything is articulated one-to-one throughout language. And it may come to that, but that's kind of a modern process, you know. Anyway, that's my argument. And so there's a bit of an irony there. Anyway, so my point though is though about politics, not politics proper, but with these movements is that they, what am I, I need my coffee. Let's see. Let's see. I'll have a test here. Test that. It's that link. That. Anyways, maybe we'll get someone in. Who knows? But anyway, so these things are on my mind. But so there's this idea, though, that somehow the modern youth in colleges and their postmodern approaches and their political stances and rebellion, even though it seems so petty and it seems so like internalized, it's like a subdivision of things that might be more like internationally, globally important about economy and general law and function. They're still like putting a headway in there, right? And this is what's coming from certain I don't know, philosophical productions, right? Like language and politics and political events and groups of people speaking and doing things. It's kind of like Burning Man. Someone came up with the idea of Burning Man, and then it get trends, right? And then before you know it, it'll have some sort of mythic, historic, connotative meaning to it that will be embedded within future reapproach. And so same thing with safe spaces and privileges and triggering and all these new titles. They're like sublingual categories that are part of like the new speak, if you will, right? Like the phrase double speak didn't come out until Orwell, I don't think. So prior to that, double speak, if it was used like smally instead of bigly, like Donald Trump's bigly. The play of words, the freedom of words, the meaning of words, the force and structure of what's going on in terms of who's grouping with whom and how they're grouping with it. I think all of these things, right, this was my whole point, are somehow, it's not like the Ben Shapiro kind of attorney, kind of rationalistic epistemological realm will want to do workarounds, and you have to posit one thing here to object to it over here and then create a workaround. That's generally the way, but my approach isn't so much a workaround as it is a finding boundaries, intersectionality. I like that phrase, right? I was writing about that. Shit, where did I put it? Something about functionality. Now I'm all excited. God, I'm excited to talk on my channel here, even though you know why. Oh yeah, isn't conflation a type of intersectionality I wrote, right? Because conflation seems to be a word in philosophy and politics that's used quite well and quite often. But conflation is a type of over intersectionality where you're ascribing a portion of one thing with and within another thing, such that you can convolute, conflate. Anyway, and so I was going to say, but anyway, so the whole idea is that if you can create an intersectionality, right, like in logical Venn diagramming, you have intersections, right? That what allows an intersection is like what I would say non-logically is like a semi-permeable membrane, or as like Thou Art That would call it, amphibious membrane to what was considered discrete variables variables, discrete X factors, right? And by discrete, we mean like outlined in a completeness. There is no zooming in. There is no turning this particular discrete X variable into a wave function, or it's strictly particulate and cut off, and we only speak about it in terms of its logical relations. But the problem is that this once again comes down to, what does it mean to speak about unzipping the law of identity, to talk about the idea of, look, that is an X, we're going to agree that's an X, so that's an X, but that X to you is X1, and that X to me is XA, right? So one of them we're just going to say is the case, and we'll call it an X, and we'll ascribe an excluded middle property to it. Like, oh, this painting is a painting, yes, but this painting is a sentimental painting to me, right? And maybe to you it will be, and then maybe there'll be some dissonance about whether or not it's painting, whether or not it's sentimental painting X1, right, to you later on, or even currently, or in retrospect. Never to discretely always only be a painting. And it's not even a painting right now, it's a drawing. But you know what I'm talking about, right? So painting and drawing, the referent, right, the X variable, we're already like meshing it in. And then this is considered semantic. Time rationalists feel like their variables are being indexed off too quickly, they say they accuse it of being a semantical problem. No, now it's a meaning issue, as if meaning and identity, as if the idea of identifying any said X variable, some more discrete than others, some more grounded in empiricism and fact, and other ones, the object, the variable is, so it takes on its semantical issues, right? These X variables, X and X1, X and X2, X and X equals X3, right? Like from, oh, well, in my hand's always an entropy, but I'm still going to call it my hand. Wait, is that my hand, or is it now, it's still my hand, right? I'm going to call it my hand, but, well, it feels kind of disembodied. It doesn't really say, God, is that my hand? Like somehow that's just not familiar. Oh, no, it is my hand. You guys weren't going to mistake it for your hand, right? So we're going to grant certain discrete boundaries to that variable. But then there's the slide off point of non-considerability, like a non, right? X and non-X, not X, but non-X, meaning we're talking about Y's now, Y's and P's and Q's, X's. That's not even, that's in our periphery, that's in the horizon, that's in our subconscious. Employ the X variable of my hand. Is my hand even a considerable idea? Otherwise, then we talk about what vanishes from the mind, what vanishes from the discourse, then what's capable of reintroducing or having run in a subconscious fashion as opposed to an unconscious fashion. See, that's what I don't like about Ben Shapiro, and why I say he is a constitution. He himself is a response to the constipation of our constitutional amendment process, right? And that he's so embedded in law structure as a static position, as opposed to having the buttress of one's law structure in an amendable, more of a fluid, constantly changing, and more of a trending fashion. Like each generation gets its amendment, at least, if not multiple amendments, right? We got technology to follow all this. We got judges that can figure this out. That's what they're there for. That's what they're supposed to be there for. But the point is somebody that's a rationalist, they're going to index the X equals X identity in life as if they're nouns, that this X must refer to some static nounus, this X must, do the same, and that we're going to call that a variable, right? So anyway, the whole point, though, is that the fact that one sees the universe as static is a type of a form of consideration, right? It's a belief system. And then one's ideologue can function through that. One's theos can move through what it is they bring close and consider valuable, inclusive, what it is they bring close and exclude from, and then any other dimensional or range of considerations could be applied here. That's what would be good to be in a room with somebody. Yeah, definitely. If you watch this again, hit the the speed up section. Speaking too fast. I still gotta make coffee. I guess I'll just take you guys with me. Oh yes. Okay, let's see if anything showed up. Okay, we're gonna drop it here. Ba 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 da na na na. Do 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 do. Oh, here we go, Brother John. 13. Let's see if that shows up. I don't know. Or I just feel like my hangout link is so long, but I guess maybe not. I don't know. Okay. Anyway, enough bitching. Enough bitching. I'm upset at myself for painting the way that I'm drawing, right? Because I'm like transferring a sketch to a canvas, and the thing about it is that I'm not like utilizing like a Xerox machine that could do, the blow up for me, and then laying it on. I'm like reworking it. I'm drawing off of the drawing, and I mean something's good in doing that, but it's not as discrete, and I'm not getting the lines as perfect as I would like them. So I'm going to yield something that's a little more scratchy and multi-line and multi-outline. Anyway, so once again, here I am trying to run the exceptions of what logic down to its root may be, trying to justify logic into naturalism, into the ground. And I'll go up against people in general. And the benefit of seeing a different sort of indexed realm to consider as a justification of how a prelingual child is able to imagine when they do hear about what a triangle is, imagine the idea and have a sense of community, which yields the idea of what an excluded middle is. Agreement of what is the case, where we say that's what truth is this application of some fact relative to a correspondence of objects initially, and then more specifically to the ideas of justice. What is justice? I drank yesterday. I'm on my feet just a little bit, and they're killing. And I'm not doing painkillers, but I'm feeling it. And then tomorrow, 1 o'clock, I really can't believe it. And I'm drinking coffee. And I'm going to be out there at 10. But my point is on Sundays when I go out to sell, I generally buy some beer and intoxicate because. And I'm trying to mitigate my pain. Go figure. And alcohol seems to do a good job of that sometimes. Okay. So here. So Joe Sonseed was in this room, right? And he was arguing about in all possible worlds, only possible worlds can exist. Impossible worlds can't exist. I don't think he phrased it quite like that, right? Basically, he was trying to do something like, only logical possible worlds can exist. There could be no logically impossible world. Meaning there could be no world that exists that is not a logically possible world. And once again, then I was listening to that, right? Because I think, well, this is a modern symptom. of the modern philosopher that's not seeing philology and linguistics and the archaeology of language like stemming through, right? So they're stuck on this idea once again that that the limit of one's consideration must be within the limit of what is logically possible. And to say that the idea of, hey, well, how do you discuss a universe or a world that is illogical? And I would think that you would most apropos you discuss it illogically, irrationally, but you'd reference it as the case, as a form, as a variable, as an X factor, right? And so it's kind of like because we come from a past and the present like becomes what it is and then it fades into the past, and we have this idea of futures, right? So we speculate on future. Oh, there's tomorrow, there's this time in the future, I go out to the park, this blah blah blah, right? We're forecasting something that isn't, right? So there's the ontus that talks about what it is to speculate or point our intention forward in time, right? And then to lay that out. Well, we say we grant anything that falls within some sort of secular normative uniformity is the uniformity of nature argument is itself kind of a canon pointed towards the future that we tend to rely on. Because I like the idea of being a reliabilist. Like I rely on the data. I'm not logically deducing to my data as I move into the future, right? I'm not doing this. I'm a reliabilist. I'm not a list, if you will, or a necessary secularist or a uniformitarian, right? And believing in the uniformity of nature. Uniformity of nature is more, to me, a view of the future. Anyway, and so that being said, yeah, what was I trying to say? That catch up to my own thinking there. Instant coffee. I don't know why I'm on to instant. Just, oh God, it's crazy. I was wanting regular coffee and now I got instant. Okay, so, God, am I going to be able to pick up this thread? Just trying to string this through. Oh yeah, Joe Sansi, logical universes, forecast to the future. Oh yeah. So the idea of how it is you would speak about possible world is not, it would be like to speak about everything, to like scatter variables outside of what your of the future might look like, right? Meaning, yeah, how to put it? Meaning the kind of like the idea of what is logically possible seems to intersect with the idea of what we pragmatically consider uniform and what we rely upon, right? And so into the future about what it is we rely upon, right? So a logically possible world might include any variable that we can think of, right? Like unicorns, like we call that an invariable. But to think of a universe with square circles, or where bachelors are not unmarried men, right, might be like a type of dissonance or a type of amphibianness or a type of discrete domains such that logic itself is not applicable, meaning the grammar structure as analyzed is different than logic proper, right? My mode of using my diction through this discourse with you guys is something different than how you guys would employ it, but it's how I employ it, right? So it's centered from within myself, right? So I'm going to say things like square circle, contradictions exist, diatheic. I'm going to posit these ideas, and then absurd surrealities, right? So even the act of speaking of a surreality or embedded contradictions, those types of things fall in threat to the idea of only positing discrete variables and entities that we would say are logically sound, whether or not they're because they're imaginative, right? It's like I don't know. It's kind of used like everything in the world is, you know, math. Kind of the idea that everything in the universe is mathematical, right? To say everything is mathematical, or that we could speak about everything in terms of mathematical terms, right? Of all objects and all concepts, everything is mathematical, and like totally use math to subsume everything, right? And yet math is always inevitably co-opted with natural speak, colloquialism, these terms, philosophies, discourse about facts that fall outside of the domain of strict logicism. It includes semantics and tone and function. My idea to Joe Sonseed is that, well, yeah, we can certainly it's so weird to say, we can certainly refer to non-logical universes, and if the only pushback is no, you can't, then at least posit negations to logic as a universe with square circles and contradictions and married bachelors and stuff like that conflict or are dissonant with current notions of definition and contradiction, and then supplant imaginations that only ever occur in art form or in mind. And the reason I bring that up is, once again, it's almost like if I posit an imaginary goo something, a goo orange bird, you know, cockadoodle, unicorn in a magnifying glass, right? If I conjure that and I decide I'm going to draw it, 'twas blithell and the slithy toad did mire and mimble in the wabe, right? That kind of jabberwocky stuff. Then no, like it could be reiterated, right? Like somebody else could come along and redraw what I drew and reiterate it, right? But and then somehow by reiterating, then we say then it falls within the domain of a logical universe, because then it takes on an X variable. We can't have a universe that's not also a not universe. And it's like, well, isn't that just legal speak? Isn't that just logical speak? Isn't there another way to speak? But then again, that's the whole idea of the coherence theory and the maintenance of rationality proper. I don't know why I'm talking this way, other than I'm interested in the exceptions. Interested in the exceptions to grounds, and there is academic grounding to what it is I'm saying. And this is in the canon of academia, so it is stemmed from a long history of philosophical considerations that don't exclude necessarily postmodern thought. I want to, it's possible that I bring in this as a type of thought form variable, right? Like I'm going to posit that we can posit impossible universes, and stated in a manner that's rational in structure, to point to the idea that the very form, I don't know, it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting. It's kind of the like, it's people that say, oh, you can't speak about atheism because it's not God, therefore you've already granted the concept God. So you can't have an atheism because you're already granted the theos. And so then you get the idea of lack theism. And the theism is still there. I don't know, I don't want to put a beard on. This is supposed to be a white woman. Anyway, now it might sound like garbled jumble, but that's precisely why I decided to go live, was because I didn't want the idea of garbled jumble to somehow be reduced and only interpreted as such. That's what I meant, I guess, in my last video about anytime you are listening to the word salad, you may restate it in a manner that is reflexive of your own thinking, your own interpretation of what was spoken. You can accuse it of being a word salad, which is pejorative for like a random word generator that fulfills some sort of basic functionality of, noun before verb sort of thing. Or
hello?
Oh, holy
you guys
shit.
have a restroom? Do you have a restroom?
Jesus Christ.
No, it's St. Tommy. I'm sorry. I gotta pee.
No, God, I was in here forever. I had no idea that my link worked, and you proved that it did. So glad you showed up. I've just been rambling for like an hour, I think. All sorts of stuff. No restroom. Yeah, there's a restroom in here. If you could just shit through the cords, I'll
Oh, it's not necessary. I just peed out the window. It's okay. It's cool.
Oh, you're cool. So you do it a number 1 instead of a number 2. But yeah, as soon as you're done there.
Peaceful in here.
Yeah, I had this idea, like, if St.Tommy comes into my room and he tries to God bless me, I think I'm going to tell him I won't need any of that blessing shit. Not in this room, because this room is a strict philosophy hangout.
Amen.
But not necessarily. I mean, we can go anywhere. I was just trying to talk about impossible universes existing, and yet having a hard time trying to defend that. And then you came in taking a poo in the bathroom, bringing up an irony, and so I thought perhaps an impossible universe would be one that we couldn't imagine you taking a pee in my virtual toilet. Since we can't imagine that, it's a possible universe all of a sudden. Damn it. That's kind of what my theme's on. And then I'm drawing my thing. What are you up to, man? What's going on?
Oh, I'm just drifting around, contemplating with other visionaries, and trying to deprogram some of our good neighbors. Darren's dealing with Vekalism, contemplation of psychological issues, of which I myself suffer with at times, the kettle calling the pot black kind of a thing. May the healing begin, and may the children sing, and the art transpire. And I'm happy to be here resting briefly. Thank you for your hospitality.
Sure, I was thinking about that a little bit too, because I thought, I mean, MK, before he showed up and he got like really shitty, right? Like, cause he was getting drunk or drugged or wherever the fuck he was recently. And he referred to you as a possible, like, I don't know about St.Tommy, he might be a wolf in sheep's clothing, right? And I thought, because I was feeling guilty about my intoxicants. No, it's really up to me to decide what it is. I started taking on this personal responsibility paradigm. Like, it's really up to me to decide what it is that is best. That if I know my left hand from my right hand, then I know the difference between right and wrong. And if I feel like intoxicating is somehow wrong, but then everything's covered, right, by the law. And then I thought, isn't that like the idea that one can go against the idea of justice? Like, there is no such thing as divine justice. But then doesn't divine justice, being totally lawless, give you divine right of kings? And then I thought, didn't St. Tommy refer to America as the land of the kings at one point to somebody? And I thought, isn't that kind of demonic? And then I thought, wolf in sheep's clothing. And I thought, am I just an antichrist by being against the? And then I thought, maybe Tommy and I are both wolves that think we're. And then I thought, well, then we're still animals under the grace of God, but are we really under that proper, indoctrinated view, or is it a different interpretation? And then I thought, well, Tommy's not responsible. If there is decision that we get to make, then Tommy's made his decisions, and I made my decisions. But what does it mean to be in justice relative to the good, the right, and the ideal, both for ourselves and our community and our words and all of it, all of it, all of it?
Yeah, sometimes it's appropriate for me to have a beer. It's good. And sometimes it's not. It's impossible for me to coin a law. I'm not lawless. I operate by vision of what's appropriate and timely. Sometimes it's appropriate for me to sing, heckle, and other times it's appropriate for me to shut the fuck up and chill out. It's a moment-to-moment discernment of what is good. And it ain't looking for what's right or for what's wrong. It's looking for what's timely and what's good. And that's good. You know, I ain't lawless. Hell no. Even though I ride a brain, my brain is unruly and has appetites and goes emotional sometimes. But it's not a wolf, you know. Even if I speak with a sharp tongue sometimes, I ain't no wolf, man. I'm just a blessed fella who has a pretty wild pony of a brain. You know, I get emotional or get sharp tongued or something, but keep an eye on me, because you know I can act pretty kind of wolfy sometimes. You know, I mean, I ain't no reason not to be forthright about that. But I don't see no wolf in you, bro. Hell no, man. You're a good man. Good man. And it ain't a matter of being lawless. It's a matter of being delivered from the petty or the juvenile law to operate, to walk by faith and just play it by ear.
Well,
to walk. Yeah.
You talk against republicanism, and like you demonize it, but I thought, God, are you a Hillary guy? Are you a Bernie guy? Are you a Trump guy? Are you
both of them will be, either one of them will do fine, man. Hillary will be a good president, and Trump, he'll do okay. Both of them, all right. I know it's a scary time. It's always been a scary time.
Well, no, the only reason I bring it up is because when you demonize something, you throw in the word Republican as your trend.
Oh no, I use that because a lot of people demonize Republicans, you know, like those filthy Republicans. But I come from a conservative, I'm both progressive minded and conservative minded in different ways. So I love conservative ideals and progressive ideals. Both of them are good. Not all of them, you know, in their extreme, but both ideals, progressive and conservative, have really good advanced vision. And I ain't against Republicans. I ain't against the progressives. You know, I mean, I ain't ready to go communist, and I ain't ready to go, you know, some kind of feudal monarchy or something. But anyway, I ain't against Republicans, man. And thank you. I'll quit using the R word, you know.
That's fine. I'm just noting the pattern. And so
I'm conservative. I'm quite conservative in some ways, you know. I don't like a bunch of hard Marxism vision is not as disturbing to me, you know.
Okay. Well, that's what I was going to ask, because Nadia, right? And I know we're in some of her rooms maybe at some point, but maybe not. You know, she argues or would like to argue for communist nationalism, right? Like she prefers a communist approach to human function, right? And it's kind of and so I guess what I'm saying is, because it's not a threat, does it still unnerve you, or
well, I was raised very wary of the Soviets. But
right.
if you look at China now, they're kind of a new hybrid of communist. it's a free enterprise. And so I don't know what communism is, orthodox communism. Social programs, social vision, and social programs. Look at America. It's a hybrid. We're not all capitalist. We have social programs, and it's a hybrid. So I ain't scared of communism, but I don't like Stalinist Russian mentality communism, you know, or when China, like the Gang of Four, when they ruled China, that shit was horrible. Some of those purges and all that, you know, all the demonization of those cultures. But so I ain't no hard, you know, like kind of like a libertarian, what do they call those people? Corporate minded. I don't know, man. Socialist vision and free enterprise, all these things are beautiful and good. I ain't got no camp that I rest in and say, oh, the socialists are best and the capitalists are evil, and the capitalists are best and the socialists are evil. Hell no, it's all good. Social programs and free enterprise is beautiful. Beautiful.
Well, but there's, I mean, obviously there's something that rubs you the wrong way. I was going to say you're the guy from Home Improvement because you're hiding behind your camera's not on. This particular hangout recording, Tommy, oh, this goes on my dospook channel. Oh, what a lengthy, very precious channel it is. Oh, it's so sentimental and
well, let me tell you, sir. Let me tell you, I do well to hide.
Oh,
Have you ever been famous?
Oh yeah. Oh God, I'm in the
Well,
truth.
watch yourself. Watch yourself, bro. Insulation is good, you know. But I wasn't aware that I was hiding. If you want to see my blessed countenance, I will reveal it. Here it is. Yes.
Brown.
May you value it. May you value it. Yes.
I've not seen you yet, my dospook subscribers. So that's what my point is.
Oh, okay.
You, a whole new brand of viewers that are figuring out who St.Tommy is. Colloquial Christendom.
Well, I'm different than I was yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm newer, more experienced, less, I don't know. I like to think that I am a new me, not the old me.
Well,
and I like to think that you're new too, that you're, you know, Michael, that's a little bit more experienced and mature and enlightened and healed, more better mind manager.
I don't know. I think I keep recriminating, and now I'm really putting the idea of justice onto my docket of what it is I am relative to an economy of justice. Let me tell you.
You ain't guilty for being you, man. You're the perfect you. You're God's you. And I don't want to preach at you, but I do want to maybe help put this little analysis to rest. You are what you are by the grace of whatever is. And you are the perfect you. You ain't perfectly mature. You ain't perfectly healed up, but it's not your fault. Whatever it is that you are, it ain't your fault. You might not be innocent, but you're guiltless. And that's the way it is. So you tell your mind when it worries you, oh shit, am I bad? Am I not flying right? Remind yourself that you are God's, or whatever it is, and it's his fault. You ain't your fault. You're growing, you're struggling, you're exasperated with yourself. Well, tell yourself to shut up when it gets to exasperate with yourself, because it ain't your fault, man. Doing the best you can.
That's my thing. I'm trying to solve problems. And
cool. Good.
You and I have gone over this, so I appreciate it.
Cool. I don't want to preach at you. I just want to reassure you. I just want to reassure you what I believe to be the truth, that you're guiltless, maybe not innocent. But anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
Right. Guiltless, but not, and it's that realm of non-innocence that make me like take on the idea like I still have a sensation that I make choices whether or not I live in a deterministic universe caused or whether or not that's not the case or it is the case. But the problem I'm trying to get at is the idea that if I can sense any problem, any friction, I want to assume that that friction is indicative of where I should be making decisions about how to handle and think about my life.
Well,
Right?
straining at gnats and nitpicking minor immaturities and things, that can be a distraction. You know, part of what is good to do is to relax and roll on in a relaxed manner. It is an act of faith to relax and rest and trust, and not be uptight about not knowing the perfect decision. Hell no, who really knows what to do? You know, it's kind of a.
Well, I gotta tell you, Tommy, I was just telling myself, don't relax. Like, work double time. Like, fucking bust my fucking hump like no one's business, because
Too much? Is it too much work?
now, well, you're an older man, you're retired man, kind of, right? So you have a virtue of that. But younger people, you want to say, hey, just kick back and enjoy the fucking flowers, and before you know it, they're like, wake me up when it's all over, when I'm wiser and I'm older, or whatever, you know. And it's like, okay, so there's that virtue of relaxing, but that's why I always put you in the post-born again.
Wait a second.
Philosophy realm, not in the pre-born again.
In relaxing is where the production is. By resting instead of striving, it actually frees up, and it's more efficient. I won't bother to give evidence for it, but I just go throw that on the grill for you to consider. That I relax, kind of let your guitar hang down low, and play those slop chords and get into the flow and play with excellence. Reading from the sheet music too much, and anyway, yeah, there is great production in resting, even as you work restfully, sleep restfully, all of it. Yeah,
it's not about production, it's about money.
Okay,
About
that's real.
It's about using the tools of our society to further object and goal orient oneself in terms of like gathering a resource for the means that one wants to have.
Yes.
The relaxation may be productive, but if I have a disjunct between my production and my sales,
yeah,
and doing art at all as a kind of a non-selling philosophical, barked up the wrong tree too long, or my support buttresses have failed me in terms of friends and other people that, not friends, but people that I was in cahoots were dropping the ball. Like, all of this shit downs my notion of what my better self-interest is for the acquisition of this notion of public wealth or money.
Yeah, it is a pain in the ass.
Within a time frame that's indicative of one's metabolism in life, where I'm, I need, and people need more. And you get there first as people that make it big early, good for them, because then they can catapult that. They can use it in their future calculus, right? It's not saying anything's guaranteed. I'm just saying some people are acquiring their needs in a pragmatic, systematic, well-decided, in the realm of where it's decided, not outside, game. God has got it covered. That's fine and all. But as for the times that I feel like I'm deciding shit for my own universe, I think I got to kick it in the fucking ass and not relax and be productive. Like, I have to either solve and then kick it in the ass, or kind of retire to just, when I do relax, don't hurt myself either, but like, don't damage myself mentally, because don't guilt myself.
Right there with you, man. The best, I'm right there with you. I share some of your same frustrations and ambitions and conundrums. I'm an artist too, with reasonable monetary desires. But I wanted to say this word, schedule. I think it would be real good for me to employ actually scheduling things, envisioning them, and then plugging them into a schedule. Even if I don't rigidly follow the schedule, I think it's good to have a schedule for me. And so I want to suggest it as a potential tool for you. Most of the time I just float along and do things drifting as I go along, but a schedule is a very productive thing, to kind of a pain in the ass to make. But My little sister told me this. She said that is why she was so successful, was simply because she learned to make a schedule very young.
Well,
And it really helped, man. It really helped just scheduling something in. And she got a PhD. Damn, she's successful in that way. And she said it was key. The schedule was one reason why she experienced different goal acquisitions, was simply because she got in the habit of making a schedule.
yeah.
I still ain't made a schedule, but I believed it when she told me.
Okay.
Hmm.
Well, no, I agree. I mean, I'm sure it's
worth a try. I figure, fuck it, man. It's worth a try. You know, it sounds good. I wanna produce more money. I want to be more focused and go ahead and get a good infrastructure rolling. Sounds good. And part of the way to do it is to envision what would be good, what I want, map out the steps and schedule them in. Just that simple. It's a template that fits any goal or any.
But then what happens if Beckel's law, right? Beckel's law, I'll call it.
Okay.
Says that if you stop intoxicating, right? Hypothetically, if you stop intoxicating, not only will the scheduling get more refined and better, but you yourself will attach your sober mind to a universe that will yield better production.
It's not a matter of intoxication. It's a matter of over-medication, inappropriately over-medicating. Solomon said, don't withhold wine from a grieving man. It's been a long war for all of us. We're healing up, you know. So when it comes to intoxicants, to see them as a tool that can be overemployed, to me, seems more truthful and more practical. It's not a matter of stopping something or not doing something. It's a matter of doing things that are better. Not be as stoned, as too many beers, too much caffeine. It's a matter of not over employment. Too many ho-hos or too much of this. You know, it's a matter of pragmatic practicalness. Blessed is the man who does not condemn himself for what he allows. All things are lawful, but not all things are good for the building up of the call.
St.Tommy, what chapter did you read that from?
I could find it for you, but I'm visually impaired. It'd be a pain in the ass for me to find it, but it's in there.
Okay, you're saying. Okay, well, then I'll trust.
I didn't make this up. I didn't make it up. Yeah, this is what's written in there.
But the thing is, I don't want to get all biblical either. But I am realizing that where the game of theological argument is within fucking exegesis.
I don't blame you, man. It is.
Yes.
It is not good to be over considering of a religious paradigm. And I am in deep, dude. And I am. And it's going to.
Are you in deep too?
Well, yeah, that's my shtick. You know, I've arrived at this point in my life and I mean, I'll just be kind of embarrassedly frank. I am kind of religious minded. I'm even too religious minded in some ways at times. And it's slippery. It's a slippery consideration. So when I hear a good man such as yourself say, look, I have it is a limited appropriateness for me to consider these things. I hear you. And I think it's wise not to think, to consider some things too much, to take it in good doses when it's good, and to step back from it when it's not good.
What's your opinion on this painting, right? Because I'm going to be fighting this devil, this half goat, half man, which I painted. All the men in my family have been painted as satyrs, right? And I'm going to be lighting him on fire on top of Devil's Tower, lighting up the devil on fire, right? Which, because I painted my dad as a satyr, I almost feel like, because when he dies, he wants to get cremated, right? And I thought, God, is this insinuating that all the men in my family are goat? But I'm a centaur, I'm a Sagittarius, so I'm painting centaurs also. which are a fire sign, right? So fire signs are interesting. My other younger brother's a fire sign also as a centaur. So I'm like moving through mythos, right? Bonding myth structure. Once theocratic and made up of a Satan, a red Satan, half goat man for pagan and wicked. The pagan and wicked man is the man of the wick, which is the goat man, and then these are more central to a different mythical history, the centaur, the zodiac histories, the constellations, the mismanaging of different organisms mythically. So I'm like, but what do you think of, like, it says I went through a religious, like don't do it, because now I'm patterning myself to, like, symbolically damning myself and all the men in my family as burning, and like as a hellbound, like a symbol of being hellbound. And because of that, then I thought, well, then I'm being wolfish or dark, or to reel this back. And so I had this huge compunction to stay away from this symbology in a painting. And then I get over myself and try to reinvestigate about how it has nothing to do with that. These are associated.
Yeah, it's just art.
Blurred
And
through.
it's just rich cultural symbolism, and I don't give a fuck about the devil. I'm all about what's good in Jesus. You know, I ain't got to worry about these little symbols.
Why
Let me share this with.
stuff? Why are you concerned with religious stuff?
When I was a younger fella, if I could interrupt briefly, I was a carpenter, and I started to build a really nice bar, and I had reservations about it. You know, gee, is this good for me to build a bar for people, you know, drinking and stuff? And I had reservations about it, but a few years later, I would build a bar. I mean, it wasn't no big deal. People heal, they have beer, and they stand around a bar, big deal. That bar was a symbol of, is this good for me to do? But in a superficial way, it was concerning to me. In a shallow way, it was like, oh, bar, liquor, not good. But when I looked at it more deeply, it's just a bar. It's just a painting. It's just a symbol, suggesting symbols, archetype symbols of society, whatever. It don't mean nobody's evil. It don't mean that.
Well, okay, are bars not systemic of the modern Satan controlling the world? I mean, is it not like a
Satan doesn't control the world?
consistent?
Well, I'm not going to say it that way. Well, work through it, bro. I mean, I can't answer them things for you. For me, as I've gotten older, I'm less and less concerned about evil and more oriented to what is cool and good and beautiful and expedient. And scripture says that. I hate the Bible thump again, but it says, be oriented towards what's good. You know, don't worry about evil. Don't worry about the little stuff, the little immaturities, crossing your I's, dotting your T's. That's kind of sin consciousness is a general distraction. Keep your mind on what's good and pure and wholesome as a general rule. Don't be distracted by petty fears of petty evils. The devil ain't nothing. God's got him under control. It's all right.
Well, the point is, I'm the one that has the guilt for symbolizing what it is I do, and people.
That's right.
From it, but it's still me that's got to work with what it is I'm working with.
And I would suggest that you ignore it, because your mind is going to rattle on like a little biocomputer with guilty thoughts. But guilt is a sham. Contrition is not. Contrition is mature. Guilt is just a temptation that your own weak conscience, at times your conscience will be weak and it will feel like God's voice, but it's just a weak consciousness. So be aware that your mind will tempt you to be petty-minded about evil and about straining at gnats, and chide your own mind, and don't let your own mind harass you so much about
this, like, because when I get intoxicated, I'm in a mode of dissonance where with I become aware of what's good and bad, but I'm dissonant because one of the things that I'm doing is possibly not in the realm of good, meaning the intoxicant. Not to say it's not good. It's not, because it is good because of what it yields. It's just not like, it's not ideal, because the whole like be is like as wise as serpents and as innocent as doves. And I never saw doves smoke on a cigarette, not once in my life.
Oh, let me tell you, fine American tobacco. How about the knowledge of good and evil? To take a bite from the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. I don't want knowledge of good and evil.
You got it already.
Well, here it is. Now, wait a second. Yeah, I can plug in that paradigm and try and figure it all out. But where the yum is by beholding what is good directly. It's not a cerebral thing. It's not a rational thing. It is an in your face. Here it is. This is good to do. And my mind will worry the poop out of me about what is good and evil, and is this evil, or how many of those is evil and how many is good. But it's a matter of directly, not rationally worrying the hell out of yourself about trying to sort rationally what is good and evil, and just visually on the cusp of the moment beholding what is good. And so it's a less rational thing. It's not according to the letter of the law, but it's a new way of discerning what's good by the Spirit.
Well, I know that's my problem, is this painting is not good by the Spirit.
Well, change it then. If you see that it is good, if it's in your face and it feels like it needs development away or toward something else, then roll with it, man.
Well, no, that's the problem is I'm rolling the die. I'm betting against the odds that even if I'm doing the negative symbolism, even if it feels wrong, even if I'm importing it, somehow that says nothing about the paranormal, supernatural, afterlife, or anything else, right?
Good.
It's like seeing $6.66 or $6.99.
I know it. Who cares about 666? Exactly.
It's like it's a series of symbols. But the thing is I was also thinking about how my mind came down to a singular point, like part of my revelatory process that the environment and everything is a concurrent intelligence outward in the universe, was the idea that I could pattern recognize synchronicities moment by moment to my thoughts, meaning whatever the quickest link was between event, my noting the event and giving it symbolism or intent.
That's a double-edged phenomenon. It's on one hand, it's loosening of associations. On the other hand, it is a very rich way to discern wonderful, truthful things. But the downside of it is every time you see 666, it's like, hell, I wouldn't even stop a gas pump on 666 because it just didn't feel good. But loosening of associations, I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's assigning order or a meaning when it's really arbitrary. It's like if somebody says the word, I don't know, pentagon. Oh my God, pentagram, pentagon. You know, loosening of associations can be a little bit treacherous, but also loosely visual or interpreting things in some ways loosely can be very rich. Like when you listen to a song and hear good meaning out of it. You know, you hear the poetry of the song, and even though it might have some blemishes, it's a beautiful poetic song. Loosening associations is and that's the nature of the mind. I have experience with a very wily mind that has glitched at times. And one way that it can glitch is loosening of associations. You know, I get a little wild on my seeing order where there is no order.
You're scratching that out. I mean, I'm not saying I haven't.
It's okay. Still,
you're trying to like my associated, like my theology stems from, very specifically stems from, well, not entirely stems from, but has a history within what you're calling loose associations, but not as just a write-off. a type of mental thing, but as an actual like archive of maps. Like there's a map archive that came
Yeah.
along with the association. And I don't know how to quite phrase this other than it's not just arbitrary in all cases. I'm not saying it's not
Of
also
course not.
it's a timely thing. I'm
I
just saying
agree.
I know that it's not simply just arbitrary, and if it is, then it means that there's significance to that which is arbitrary.
Yeah. Sometimes, yeah. I mean, it can, if I might comment,
But
absolutely go either way. Sometimes it can be rich and quality and truthful, and other times it can be fear based. I guess the point I want to make is if I could deliver a point to you that might be practical and helpful, is that, and I'll put it first person, I'm not my mind. My brain is my brain, and my mind is my mind, and I am riding it. And if I have, and it is good that I steer my mind, but if my mind gets a little unruly, I expect that now, and I steer my mind, and I'm less frightened by my mind. I don't feel guilty over my mind having crass or immature experience. Oh well, there goes my mind again. Come on, mind, take your, refocus it. I'm a better mind manager than I was in my youth, simply because I don't take guilt. I don't associate that I'm guilty just because my mind's unruly. If I have a crazy thought, it doesn't mean I'm crazy. It just means my mind experienced a crazy thought. If I have an immature thought, it doesn't mean that I am immature. It just means, yeah, I think I've made my point. But
well, but you
yeah,
still dodge $6.66 on a gas pump, so that's
yeah, I do sometimes emotionally. I tell you, sometimes I'll do something. I'll find myself doing something out of fear, and I will say, whoa, how can I look at this to be doing it out of faith? And this is another helpful household hint that I
stopping.
would hope to deliver to you, is that it is better for me to do things out of faith than fear. Fear is not mature to do things out of. George Patton said, take no counsel of your fears. There's something truthful about that. In scripture, it says, walk by faith. It says, perfect love cast out all fear. So sometimes I'll catch myself, what should I do? What would be good for me to do? And I'll find myself making decisions, what if decisions and fear-based decisions. And I'll stop in my tracks just for a minute, and I'll look at it and say, how can I do this out of faith? And that's very vague. But anyway, yeah, that's another little mind management, which is to change my perspective from a fearful perspective to a faithful perspective. It's still very truthful. It's not bullshitting myself. It's not, I can still continue to do the very same thing in a faithful mindset and depart from that fearful mindset. Get out of the grips of that thing. Keep an eye on my mind. Good God, my mind's like a wild pony, man. Clever, runs all the time thinking.
Are you
Sometimes, yeah.
your brain? Are you your spirit?
No, see, that's what I want to deliver to you, is that the mind and the brain is kind of distinct from the spirit, and that helps me run my brain better, realizing that I can influence my mind. I can refocus it, kind of like changing a TV set. I'll catch it rolling around in a ditch somewhere, and I'll say, "Dagnabbit, there goes my brain again. It's ensnared in the brambles in the ditch." And I'll refocus it, and it might wander back over there in a couple more minutes. But it really, I'm not as frightened of my mind, and it's easier to manage by realizing that I can refocus it, change the channel, quit thinking so much about this or that. Just choose to think about something else.
You've been paranoid in your past, obviously.
Well, yeah, of course. Most good minds are.
Yeah.
Of course.
You have to absorb the idea that kind of the nirvana is,
Well, Paranoia can be a habit to get into and an easy habit to get out of. Once you realize, oh, I'm thinking paranoid again, refocus my mind. You know, same thing. Communication habits can be like that. Bitching, for instance, or yelling. It's a habit that is easy to step out of if you once you recognize it as just a habit. Violent thoughts, same thing. Sexy thoughts, same thing. They're habitual. Once you see that they're just a habit, they're a lot easier to manage if beheld in that way. And it is truthful. You know, it's not bullshitting some kind of self-help psychology. It's just truthful mind management. And I can give you some scriptures about it, you know. Yeah, I won't bother you with that. I won't bother you. But I ain't making this stuff up. I ain't creating some new psychology or something. This stuff derived out of Proverbs, you know, affirmed in different aspects stuff, you know.
Well,
And I like
all these things to get out of. The biblical mindset is also something to get out of.
Amen. Yes, that is. That is.
Yeah. And diagram the visual, and you know, I'm just saying.
Yeah, there's a time to. There's a season, man. I can't even coin out what I want to say. No reason to, but I hear you. I hear you. I can get burned out on biblical consideration or thinking too heavenly minded, and Jesus, you know, it's good for me to live in a quality way, another way, other than all in my head, working out or thinking about religious things. Yes. Yep. Damn pleasant to see you, though, Michael. Pleasant to see you.
Yeah, you do. You know, I like your input. Even if I try to talk over you, I try to steer you away from long rambling. Even though I like a good rambling, what I'm thinking is, why doesn't St.Tommy? Am I not subscribed to your YouTube video? And I thought maybe St.Tommy doesn't do a YouTube channel, but he should really maybe make videos like this so you can really get into your.
Yeah. I think that'd be wise because I do dance on people's eardrums and it's kind of reckless, kind of unkind because I have both, you know, I got a lot to say. And if I want to deliver stuff about mind management, I could put it on a YouTube video. And then if some rascal wants to look at it, he can look at it and he can cut it off when he wants to. But to dance on other people's eardrums.
You're saying you don't have a YouTube channel?
Well, I do have a YouTube channel. But the day I came on G Plus 2 years ago was the last. I've got about 300 videos on file.
Oh, you did?
I stopped making videos the day I discovered G Plus Live Hangouts or Hangouts because, and I just stopped doing that vocation that I had formerly done.
Yeah, because the group dynamics is it's better.
Well, it's different. It's different. It's similar, but a much richer, man. Dealing or interacting with you is so powerfully quality compared to making a video. And I love to teach. I love to deliver proposals about what might be good, you know, about putting on alternators or managing anger or how to see paranoia. I love all that. Love psychology, love theology. But it is reckless sometimes for me to just babble these things that I feel compelled to say. It's hard on my neighbors. And I would do well to make a video if I want to communicate these things and give people a break. You know, Jesus, give them a break.
Well, you know, and before you came on, I mean, yesterday or a couple days ago, I made a video, right? It's a stream because I was like you. As soon as I found the G Plus community, I kind of stopped. And I thought, God, maybe I need to get into my own thoughts again, just for a while. Put myself like I'm meditating in a closet, like I'm praying in a closet. Not mistake, I'll say that, right? But more or less, just reel it back into my opinion about how I'm now seeing the world, right? I got back into it, and I thought very heavily about a lot of the, you know, just the facts and things that you're saying, but in terms of the dynamics and how much greater a community is
yeah,
individual, and yet there's still something about getting back into that self.
Yeah, and both are so valuable. It's so valuable. So good.
Yeah.
I think for me, I think I would do well to retire some or more to tone back and pull or tone or rev down from live interaction with others, because I have embraced it very much, man. I am very much trying to encourage people and love people and be loved by people and deliver some practical, helpful household hint. I'm all about it, man. But now it's time for me to pull back a little bit and chill out. And I ain't got to save the world, you know. God will send other people to say, everybody save, you know. You're helping, I'm helping, everybody's helping. G plus don't need me on here babbling, yelling at Veckel, you know, come on. Or Darwin's deity, he's growing out of his immaturities just fine, you know. He don't need me pecking at him or bitching at him because he won't love me, you know. It is timely for me, Michael, to I think chill out a little bit, you know. I've had a good run of loving people and being loved by them and being encouraged and learning and teaching. And now it's time for me to chill out a little bit, you know, a little bit, not saying stop, but,
well, I just want to see your old videos now. Now I want to see
really, I would be embarrassed to bore you, man. It's,
no.
you know,
You're already
thank you. Thank you. Hell, I'm liable to post them just to, you know, it's just art, you know. Why be embarrassed? It's just art. If somebody is encouraged by looking at them, then fine. If they see that I have a pimple or that I mispronounce something or act like a dumbass, who cares? You know.
What I was gonna say was that after I pulled back, I realized that I didn't during all of my pre-time before I got into Google Hangs, I didn't know that the whole God theism thing was still like a major trend anywhere, right? I didn't think what was up for people to like. I didn't think like I thought that it was a non. I don't know, like a quiet.
Just weren't aware of any of it. Weren't aware of that.
I just didn't. Yeah, I didn't know that in these circles it was going to be such a predominant topic, and so I was kind of like I was messed by it. Like, how is this possible that people are even arguing about this? Because I thought, God, isn't it like I just assumed everybody was more on whatever page I felt like I was on, but apparently not.
I'll tell you, man.
Everybody's a good mix. You know, they come about when they're needed.
Let me tell you, this G plus community thing, a lot of people have met a lot of friends on here. A lot of people have kind of fallen in like with each other. I mean, people you'd never think Darwin's deity is liking people he never thought he'd like, and people, you know, people are really making friends on here. And it's I've met a bunch of cool, unique people like you. I kind of like you. You're really cool in your way, and I've met a lot of cool people on here, man. And I see that other people are kind of liking each other, man. They are. It's like a big community, and the more they hang out with each other, the more they kind of like each other. And as the community has gotten smaller, because it's kind of tightened up a little bit because of some of the Google changes, people are hanging out with their former people that they weren't real tight with. I'm seeing diverse-minded people chilling out and liking each other and not giving a damn that one's Presbyterian and one's Buddhist. Nobody, you know, it's not a big deal. You know, okay, that's where you're at. That's fine. I'm seeing people like people that they were forbidden to like for instance, Nadia. You know, some people are like, oh, I would never like somebody like that, but they sit around Nadia a while and they say, well, she's pretty cool, you know, she's not one of them aliens from outer space. It's just Nadia. And so I see people making peace with liking each other, even though they're from a different tribe. Or one of, you know, a Republican. I'm not supposed to be liking Republicans or Democrats. They're the other team. But they end up liking each other anyway and seeing each other as unique rather than one of them. But anyway, I'm just kind of rattling on. But yes, I am. It's my job.
Here you are, bringing up that Republican shit again.
Yep. But man, let me tell you, man, I do love our G plus neighbors. Can't help it. I'm all emotional about it. And I bitch at him like Veckel. Oh, I bitch at him, rag his ass. But he's a very likable man in some ways. And I don't feel bad about liking him, even though he might irritate me at times.
Like, it's so weird. Like, the people I would say I put in like Darwin's deity, right? I don't, the thing I don't like about him is his methodology. His voice is fine. His manner, his politeness is generally fine. And I like that he bloviates at times.
Yes, he's kind of marvelous that way.
There's other people who I like their methodology. I like what's coming out of their mouth, but they sound weird and quirky. And then there's something about that weird, quirky, or that like their mode of speaking has a certain tone to it that I'm like not sympathetic to, right? Meaning I can become, I listen to them, but I'm not endeared to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, you're a flatliner or they get on your nerves. Yeah, so.
Yeah, and then there's people like Iron, right? Like where it's neither his mode of speech nor his content that I like. Things against him, and yet somehow I'm like, I just think, God, what a puppy dog.
Isn't it something to see some kind of precious puppy, even though there might be a surface level shrillness or some kind of discord, but to see beyond that, yeah, I see different polarities or different camps, exactly what you described just now.
Well,
that they're yes. And Iron is classic like that. I like some of the quirkers, you know, with some obvious, but let me go back to Darwin's. One thing I don't like about Darwin is his aggression and his hurtfulness, you know, but I don't know, maybe I ought not be upset about it. Maybe it's my bully issues, you know. It's like, oh, he's saying mean things. Well, okay, maybe I'm making more of a big deal about it than it is.
How you hear that? You go to Mexico and you become a matador and you fight a real bull. Think that before you die, your job is to go down there and fight a real bull. Just don't kill him, just attack, and then you'll be cured of Darwin's. That's his point. That's why he's on the back, is to help you get that.
Wow, how about that? Nah, he's the real deal. He ain't trolling. I can't hardly believe if he's a troll, if he's not sincere in his little aggressive name calling, I think he's trapped in it. I feel bad for him. I think he's miserable in his aggressive communication habits. And if he's bullshitting, then I mean, I'm a dupe like that. I take people kind of at the face value, but I hope, I guess, I can't see him. No way. He's ensnared in it. He's the true, he's honest, I think. I think he's just a little, he's right on time, though. He's right on time, you know. He is reality's Darwin.
Nevin's honest, right? Nevin's
yeah. Sincere, yeah.
Like laying it in there, being her like little sandwich. She's like overtly rational, overtly evidence-oriented, overtly like free. But there's something so nice about that type of person. And she's not dissimilar. She's not bullish like he's bullish. And I don't mean bullish like in a bullish market. I mean bullish like a bull, or bulldogish. But it's weird. Like you could take any personality almost, like Balthazar, for example. Balthazar.
Yeah.
He's languid. He's fluid. English is his second language, and yet he's well informed. But he's got his opinion, and everyone's got some sort of weird thing. Like even Commando. Like Commando is so out there. I feel like I'm out there. I feel like a lot of like the flat earthers, Arcane is out there, right? But And some people I think are out to lunch. And the whole thing though is it's like, and a lot of those just stay quiet after their initial beating and browbeating.
After they get chided for being a little too unique, yeah, they get beat back, yeah.
But then I just felt kind of weird about being like I felt like I was corralling people, but not corralling them like I'm more like the horseman on the horse, corralling people in a rope sometimes in my mind, right?
Well, there are many ways. There are many ways to be enlightened. You look at the commando.
Or like
He's advanced.
He's more
Commando is advanced in his special way. And there are many ways that our neighbors are very somehow wonderful and advanced, but at the same time out there, maybe a mixed bag of out there or bang on, enlightened, spiritual, and yet limping. Oh yeah, ain't we a unique bunch?
Well,
We
you
are.
get Laley, right? And you know, the Connecticut lady.
Vaguely.
Well, Lolly.
Yeah, Lolly. Yeah, has the spinning little dragon chasing its tail kind of thing. Spin.
And then there was Gretchen the other night, and I was like, okay, these two, they're like a lot different than, let's say, Sugar and Nevin, and yet they're the like sensitive conservative, like they're very very thoughtful, but in like they're not derogatory in their personal manner. Not to say that Sugar is derogatory. I just
but as generally they're kind of congenial or easygoing in some way, easy to get along with in some ways.
Yeah, there's some nice tone. Everyone's got a nice tone. It's just it's so cool how different everyone is.
I like it that when I can get along with somebody and they can get along with me. But, you know, because of my specialized shtick and my particular poetic and rational spot, you know, and station and condition, now I get, you know, ain't anybody going to like me, ain't anybody going to get along with me, and I ain't going to get along with everybody. But I like it when people will abide with me, even though I'm different from them, you know. I hang out with atheist-minded peeps, with fundy-minded, high-minded, Calvinist-minded, and they abide me. Different people abide me, but some do not. Some cannot bear me, or I'm disturbing to them, or piss them off, or I'm evil to them somehow, and I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that Veckel somehow can't not condemn me. You know, he's just got to fuck with me. It's like, damn it, man.
Sensitive that way.
You know, I don't like it. It's kind of a pain in the ass a little bit, and I don't see it as my fault. You know? You can ignore me, please. Just ignore me if I get on your nerves. Please, you ain't got to fuck with me. But anyway, I'm just rattling.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I'm hearing you in terms of like who we're contentious with, and Beckel just seems to be your current antagonist, and vice versa. And then other people have their things to say, and then it brings up other topics. And I like hearing topics, and you know, and
don't worry about the past.
I'm just more like, I think I want to compliment a lot of the people who I've met, and yet I can't remember everybody's name that's ever migrated and talked in a room. And even the Muslim guys. I mean, what was the one Muslim? I mean, you got Greens,
Fall or something, or I can't remember his name. I've only met one Muslim fella who hung out in Nadia's room. He's a gentleman, you know, pretty congenial.
He's one of the most decent, or you know,
kind of easy going, man. You know, good-willed. He's opinionated. You know, I just don't subscribe to Allah, but that's okay.
Right.
He seemed like a good man, interested in good intent, and you know, not some kind of wackadoodle. He didn't see me as a devil. That's always nice, you know. If somebody doesn't see me as evil, oh shit. You know, you're one of them. I hate that. But yeah, I know the one fellow you're talking about. I wish I could remember his name. There's so many people though; it's hard to keep up with everybody. You know, I interact with them once or twice and won't see them again for a couple of months, and it's hard for me to remember. You know, they gradually come on my radar. It's kind of like being famous. If you meet a lot of people, if you work at a convenience store and ring up 500 people a day, it's hard to keep up with everybody.
Oh yeah,
it is.
Yeah, I tell you, man. Tomorrow's one of my work days.
Oh yeah, cool.
The thing is, though, by work it means I go sell, and by go sell I mean I have to set up in a park, and by setting up in a park that means
wow.
Cedar sore. From cedar sore, that means I drink. That means I go get drunk in front of the public tomorrow while I'm trying to sell them shit on a Sunday.
Okay, well, it sounds like you might have a desire maybe not to get over drunk. Or I would encourage you just maybe if it's disturbing to you or somehow out of tune for you, taper back a little bit. You know, drink half water and half beer maybe, or that would be my thought on it. Would be
it's about pain control, and it's about loosening up, and it's about getting in the right time. But I hear you. I mean, but
yeah. So the alcohol or drinking a beer allows you to loosen up and visit with people and represent your art and be a little public relations gregarious a little bit. I hear you. That's cool.
Yeah, no, it's a little that comes along with it. It's just what's like right now. I'm in some pain. I'm always in a little bit of pain, but I'm in a little bit more pain. And by tomorrow, I'll be in quite a bit of pain. And so I'm using alcohol because I don't take pain relievers, right? I just don't.
Yeah.
And
let me tell you, man, the Tylenol in Vicodin is deadly. It ain't the fucking Vicodin, excuse my language, but it's the Tylenol that can really be hard on your liver. So be careful about ever drinking even one beer if you do anything with Tylenol or acetaminophen in it, because it is very potently destructive to one's liver. Yeah. So just a helpful household hint on that, man, on liver protection when it comes to acetaminophen, which is Tylenol, and Budweiser or whatever, Lowenbrow or whatever. That mix of Tylenol and a beer is heads up on that one, man. That's like mercury in hats, you know. That's something you don't want to do. You know about Mad Hatters and all that historical stuff. But anyway. But it is my time, Michael. I am browning out. Thank you for your hospitality, bro. It was good to sit and pontificate and contemplate with you.
Yeah, glad you came in.
All right, bro. See you soon. And hey, it's kind of inspirational hearing about you heading out to the park to sell your art. It kind of inspires me to go sell some of these antiques tomorrow at the flea market. That might be a good thing. Yep. But in any case, thanks, man. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too, man. Have a good night. We'll catch you on the flip flop. Woo. Well, folks, I think that is time to wrap up. I think I'm gonna, shut down shop, not paint anymore. Glad you guys could watch me paint this in. It's so weird though. Before I go and I shut down the hang, it's almost weird because I was gonna take this whole guy out here. But then I'm putting in one here, there's another head, and then her head. And they're all like lining up in this kind of really nice arc. And now I almost don't want to erase this guy. It's just so weird because his head, the middle guy's head, is a little bit smaller than her head, so it's like in perspective. But then this guy's like a big Andre the Giant centaur in the background. It almost doesn't make sense, right? It almost makes these look like the Lilliputian centaurs. And I'm like, okay, so anyway, I'll finish adding. I'm going to add one more, and then the bulls and pentagram or whatever comes out. Anyway, hopefully we get this knocked out on the next video. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. If you have anything, comment in the question area below. Comment in the question area below. Questions in the comment area below. Anyway, Yeah, any opinions, any thoughts, anything that you've extracted out of any of my discourse with Tommy, any of the topics we brought up, or any of the things that I brought up prior to in terms of logic and rationality in these different realms and philosophies and political considerations or whatnot. Let me know. I'm trying to be a little more interactive. I'm not locked within my center soul in my being. So I'm so glad St. Tommy came in because somebody came in. Oh, it looks like somebody else came in. It might even be Green Soul himself. Dash is in the room. Dash, I didn't know if I was going to close out. If you have any final words you'd like to say or ramble for 5 minutes, go ahead and hop up and take the mic. Say again? No, nothing? Something? I haven't got to a full 8-hour hangout yet, right? Because I was going to go to bed. If there were multiple people in the room, I would leave it open. But I think I'm going to shut it down because my channel is I don't know. There's not a lot of dead time in my videos, and perhaps there was a lot of rambling monologue in this one. But that's why I wanted to see whether or not you had any things to say, and then I'll shut down the hangout. Say goodnight to you and have to catch you on the flip-flop, Dash. So what do you got? What do you got? Go ahead. Tell my viewers, all 700 viewers, what you got.
Que se olvidó house. I guess enjoy thinking stuff.
Thank you. Right on. Well, you probably didn't see my link to get in here on. You probably saw it inside of Google and not on my description area in the video. I don't know the ins and outs of doing the hangouts yet, so I'm still figuring out all the things. Okay then, Dash. Well, I'll see you later. Sorry, I got to cut out. But we'll catch you on the flip flop. Have a good one. If I could even do this. Son of a bitch. See, I still don't have this thing figured out. Meaning, I need to end it, right? I need to end the live thing. I thought just by shutting out. Oh, stop podcast. There it is. Okay, well. Oh, Van Veen and Asa, saw you on the outside. Cool. Right on. Don't know what kind of feedback I'm going to get, but I'm going to end it now. Everybody loves spider. Everybody hates spiders. Keep that in mind. No matter what, everybody hates spiders. Oh, and to all of my amazing love interests out there, make sure to get a hold of me. You know that I'm your precious flower. Or my precious flower. Love interests. Do I have love interests? Guess I have love interests. Anyway, my skunk's coming in. Welcome.